Care for Congo is a grassroots organization set up to help communities affected by war and extreme poverty in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, especially in the area of education, promotion of human rights, and community development. The organization was set up in 2009 by a group of Congolese. I was previously the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo Community Association, and after a number of years holding that position, I resigned and thought that I would focus my energy and motivation in trying to do a bit more for the people of the Congo back in the DRC, as well as in Australia, obviously, but more specifically because of the crisis growing so big in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I thought there was a need to do something about that, so we put a group of friends together and came up with the idea of setting up an organization to try to help the communities back in the DRC. Care for Congo doesn't just involve Congolese Australians. Care for Congo welcomes the contribution of all people, and because we are settled, our base is in Melbourne, Australia, we welcome the contribution of all Australians, and we have a lot of Australians that are involved in Care for Congo from all backgrounds. Care for Congo has four main objectives. The first one is about raising awareness about the Congolese crisis. A lot of people in the world, and Australia specifically, remain unaware of the magnitude of the humanitarian crisis in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. I'll touch on that a little bit later, but just briefly, there's been over 5 million dead in the DRC since 1997, and that's just huge. Some people give a figure of up to 8 million people dead in the Congo. It's just absolutely unimaginable that magnitude of death and violence and suffering is happening in the Congo, and most people in Australia and the world remain unaware of it. So it's part of our job to tell the world about this crisis and ask people to do something about it, because it's one thing is to know about what's happening, and the other is to do something about what is happening, so that people can be given hope and an opportunity to live normal life again. The second objective is about raising funds. We do a number of activities to raise funds and use those funds to work with communities in the DRC and run projects. One of our core project or core business is to build community education and learning centers. These are special community centers devoted to helping communities rebuild their lives, involving community leaders, community activists, community organizations and associations to come together and work together for the issues that they're facing in their own communities locally, because we believe that is very important. Quite often we've seen in many places, not just the Congo, where international agencies such as UN agencies and other big NGOs go and throw money into crisis, and after a little while not much happens from that. That's because often the local people do not own that process of rebuilding and restoration of their own communities, and Care for Congo believes that it is important to actually get the people themselves drive the agenda in restoring their life, defining what is their priorities, what are their priorities, and how they intend to go about solving those issues. If they own the process, they will own the result, and the end result will be that those solutions will be long-lasting, and they'll make much bigger difference than if it is done otherwise. The third objective of Care for Congo is to help Congolese migrants and refugees in Australia here and other places eventually when we settle, when we open up in other countries, because we actually have an international vision. We call ourselves Care for Congo International, so that what we're doing here in Australia can be replicated in other countries such as France, the US, and Canada, and just to name a few. So we want to help Congolese migrants and refugees to be successful in their settlement and lives in Australia, and use some of that success to help their communities back in the Congo, because we believe the diaspora has a very important role to play in helping Congolese communities back in the DRC. So we work with all Congolese from all backgrounds who are willing to partake into our vision. And I guess lastly, it's about the project that we do in the Congo. I've already mentioned the special learning and education centers. We are not just limited to that. We also can look into other projects that are designed to give community an opportunity to take ownership in rebuilding their lives. And we can talk about the promotion of human rights, health issues, community development issues, all that sort of thing to empower communities and give them agencies to solve their problem. So those are the main objectives of Care for Congo International. The humanitarian crisis in the Congo is one of the biggest crises, if not the biggest, since the World War II. In fact, as I said earlier, there's been more than 5 million people dead in the Congo due to violence, poverty, and diseases that have been left untreated because of the direct and indirect consequences of the war. It all started back in 1997 when there was a change of regime from the former president Mobutu, for those who know a little bit of history and political history in the Congo, and then a new regime came in with President Laurent Desire Kabila. There was a war which involved about 9 African countries, neighboring countries, mainly Congo's neighboring countries, including Rwanda, Uganda, Namibia, Zimbabwe. So they call it Africa's World War because of the number of countries that were involved in the Congo crisis. So it's just been terrible. For those of you who've had a chance to, you can go on the internet and just go on Google and type Congo crisis. You will see a number of articles that have been written. There's hideous pictures about what is happening in the Congo, children being killed, women being killed and raped. In fact, unfortunately, right now, Congo holds a very unfortunate record of rape in the world, with about 33 rapes happening almost every single day. So there's about 9,000 women being raped every month. So this is certainly, by all account, a very big crisis. And the international community has done a little bit to try and help the Congo, but the size and the magnitude of the crisis is such that what has been done is definitely very little. There needs to be a greater international community involvement to try and stop what's happening in the Congo. Unfortunately, the political situation that is developing now in the Congo is getting even worse, to the point where we fear that there will be even more killings, because there's been a bit of stability in the Congo, which was starting to give hope from about 2006, where there was presidential elections organized, which went relatively well, and the Congo enjoyed a bit of political and economic stability. That has now been it's now endangered, because the most recent political election, presidential elections that was organized, didn't go all that quite well. So there's instability again. Already there's about 30 people killed in this whole process. So it is important for the international community to take a more active role in trying to address the situation in the Congo, rather than what has been happening now. 9,000 women being raped every day, over 6 million dead. That's already enough. Children die every day. There's about 1,500 people that die every single day in the Congo. And if you have a look at that, 1,500 people. On the 9th of September 2001, there were about 3,500 people who died, and everyone looked at it and said, "God, this is very bad." But in the Congo, that's happening every 3 days. 3,000 people, 4,500 people are dying every. It's almost every 2 days that the size of the September 11th death is happening in the Congo. Of course, these two events cannot not always be compared, but we're just talking on the numbers. It is absolutely important that people know of the crisis in the Congo and do something about the issue to try to help make some difference. Well, there are a number of things that almost everyone can do to try to help regarding the situation in the Congo. One of them is to work with an organization such as us, the Care for Congo International. If you're in Australia, Melbourne specifically, we'll be more than happy to work with you, and you can contribute into what we do to try to make a difference for the people of the Congo. Now, there are other organizations in other parts of Australia as well as other parts of the world. Whether we talk about America, there's Congo Justice, Friends of Congo. In Europe, there are other organizations everywhere. Now, people may not necessarily be comfortable joining an organization. There are other things that can be done. You can talk to your local member of parliament, tell them about the issues in the Congo, and get them to do something about it. Talk to the government, and because if there's more pressure from people of authority, and then that can accumulate into something that eventually will help for the Congo. So there are you can call us, for instance. We can send you leaflets, and you can distribute that whether to your family, work colleagues, local neighborhood area, because the more people know of these issues, the better. So you can help raise awareness about the situation in the Congo in a number of ways. You could do that at your church, if you go to a church, or at your local club, or whatever gatherings that you are part of. Raise these issues so that people know of the situation in the Congo, and more importantly, you can also donate money to organizations that work to try to address the situation in the Congo. We'll be more than happy to take your donations for our website, and there are other international organizations such as the Red Cross or World Vision. There are many others. If you go on the internet, you can find many others, but we'll be happy if you in Australia, come please and work with us. Our website is www.careforcongo.org. Yeah, the fundraiser that happened on the 10th of December 2011 last year was Care for Congo's very first fundraiser, and it went pretty well. We had a few issues here and there, like you expect to have when you organize an event of that sort, but overall it went very, very well. We raised some money. It wasn't a whole lot of money, just about $2,500, but it was our first one. We wanted to have that as a very small event so that we could learn from that and organize for a bigger one, which will be happening this year around about late April or early May 2012, and we will be doing those events at least twice every year, so that we'll be able to raise more funds and use those funds to try to help the people of the Congo. So we were very happy with the overall result, and the feedback received was quite fantastic.